Hello, Internet, and thank you for joining me today. So, I knew from the moment that I saw the Masters of the Universe trailer that it was not going to be something that was made for me. I didn't grow up with the cartoon, I'm not attached to the homoerotic plastic toys. It's just something that clearly appeals to a certain demographic that I'm not a part of. But that doesn't mean that it can't be fun, which, I mean, spoiler alert, this one isn't very fun in my opinion, but, I recently got some feedback regarding my videos that I needed to kind of do a recap on what happens in the movies to let you know why I have the opinions that I have. So in an attempt to do that, I'm going to attempt to summarize the story in as few words as I can. So enough beating around the bush for me. Let me just jump straight into that. So we start off in a place called Eternia with our young protagonist named Adam. And he is the Prince of Eternia. His dad, whose name escapes me, is the king, obviously, and he's not very nice to him because Adam is not a very good warrior. He doesn't do warrior things well. Now, that's made abundantly clear because our other main characters, mainly Tila and Man-at-Arms, aka Duncan, aka Idris Elba, love to point out that he kind of sucks at all the warrior things. But that doesn't matter because suddenly, Skeletor shows up. Skeletor, for those of you that don't know, is our main bad guy for the entire series of He-Man and Masters of the Universe and all that good jazz. And he's there to take the Sword of Power, which we then run into a room where the Sword of Power is, only to have the sorceress character, who is Inara from Firefly, so I will henceforth refer to her as Inara. But she opens up a portal and Adam is magically transported to our real world. And then we have the most boring part of the movie. It is honestly just kind of torture for a good solid 20 to 30 minutes where he is just running around on Earth trying to find the Sword of Power. And supposedly we're trying to do Act 1 things. We're trying to set up who this character Adam is, right? As far as being a prince, as far as being, a warrior, a person, all that good jazz, right? But we don't really get a good sense in this time where we're really going with this, because it really feels like we are just spinning our wheels while we're on Earth. He being at Prince Adam is a HR representative, which I don't know how you get to be an HR representative at any company without some kind of training or some kind of degree. Which this would imply that at some point in the intervening 15 years from when he falls to Earth and loses the sword till now, he has somehow gone to college, gotten a degree, got a job, got an apartment, all of this good jazz. Which also, we just don't explore how... I don't know how old he is. Let's just assume he's 10, right? So this 10-year-old boy who has known a world of magic and all of this suddenly falls into the middle of what I can assume to be downtown LA. I can't be fucked to remember, but he falls into downtown LA and just goes on about his life. He's not in the foster system. He's not in any kind of social services. What was he like in high school? What was he like in college? I'm guessing he's pretty popular because literally every woman in this movie wants to fuck him. But I'm really, really, really straying far from what I'm trying to do. And I'm not really summarizing this all that well. Okay, so we're on Earth. He's looking for the Sword of Power, right? Or whatever it's called. I don't remember. He has the power. That's a big line. Anyway, He is searching for the sword. He finally finds it, and it's just at some comic book shop. Meanwhile, we are treated to him being humiliated in his job, as well as being humiliated next to his roommate who watches rom-coms, and that's like a plot point, and I feel like they want me to laugh at that because just man watches rom-com. That's as much build up and payoff as you get for that joke in this movie. So you can see why I'm frustrated. Anyway, finds the sword at the comic book shop. Struggles to get it off. Everyone laughs at him because he can't get the sword power off, even though dude is still 6'2" and really kind of buff for just a regular dude walking around. And I just hit my mic stand. It's okay. So he gets the sword, and somehow that sends out a signal that lets us know that, everything's going down. So people from Eternia can just come to Earth, And so Tila and the Beast Man guy, again, I did not watch this show growing up, so I have no idea who any of these characters are. So the Beast guy shows up, and they have a big CGI fight. It looks pretty decent, but, it's just a big CGI fight. And then Tila takes him back to Eternia, officially making this a plot cul-de-sac where no progression happened, but goddamn it, we spent like 20 to 30 minutes here. So, gets back to Eternia, and he is trying to recruit everyone because, hey, guess what? Skeletor took over, and he's a bad guy, and he's done bad things in the intervening 15 years. Everyone's in prison except for Tila and some resistance people-ish. There's some named characters there that I'm not going to bother with because they don't have characters. All right. And I know that this is a toy commercial from the 1980s, but none of these side characters really develop or change except for, Man-at-Arms, Duncan, Idris Elba. I'm just going to not refer to him by 3 different names. I'm just going to call him Idris Elba because that's what's happening here. He's just Idris Elba. Anyway, we get there. We break Idris Elba out of prison with a lady robot that just goes around and has snarky dialogue because she's a female in a modern movie, and that's all females in modern movies are allowed to do. Anyway, we find out that Idris Elba, aside from failing in the earlier part of the movie, letting Skeletor take over and all that shit, he is now drunk and really lame, and he's real sad about all the things that he couldn't do. So he goes on to talk about how now that Adam's here with the sword, he can do all the He-Man stuff to beat up Skeletor, right? Right. So we break out of prison. We get all the other resistance guys that have the names, but I'm not caring to remember them. And we go on to a big battle where Adam finally becomes He-Man. And he's fighting the bad guys, and he does the I have the power thing. Cool. Right on. So why is this so fucking underwhelming? Like, I, for the life of me, cannot understand what they were thinking when they were editing this, because they can't possibly have thought that it was a great idea to just have this guy go from pink shirt Prince Adam, like right there in this background footage that I have here, but goes from just that to He-Man, who literally his just outfit changes. They don't do anything to actually enhance how he looks, but suddenly he's super powerful. Cool. Everyone's excited because, hey, He-Man. Everyone loves He-Man, right? But then they go to fight Skeletor, and he gets his fucking ass kicked, right? So after he gets his ass kicked, we have a second act low point, which leads into our third act, where He-Man / Adam realizes that he was the badass all along. He didn't have to change. He was good all along, and the sorceress Inara tells him that, And after that, he goes and actually beats up Skeletor and saves the day, and everyone's cool, right? So, aside from my inane rambling here, this movie is so hard to care about. I know that some people, I've watched a bunch of clips from Open Bar where, the drinker and some other people that grew up in the 80s think that this is just a fantastic movie, right? Where we are. All right, not sure how I'm going to edit the portion that I missed on what I was just ranting about, but what I think I left off with before my video cutouts was that I'm listening to Drinker and some of these older dudes talk about how great this particular movie is, and I cannot be further from them. I think, I don't want to take anything away from them. If I gave the movie a rating, it would be somewhere in the middle. We would have a straight up middle of the road movie where there's nothing bad enough for me to not recommend it, but it's not good enough at anything for me to really recommend it. And I think the real problem that I have with it is that it doesn't commit to any one thing. As an 80s cartoon, it is the property itself is naturally very silly and very quirky. All right. But it doesn't commit to that. It also doesn't commit to being, a modern gritty reboot, which I'm kind of glad for, because gritty reboots are a really hard thing to get right. I think that there was a reboot of the He-Man show back in the 2010s or something, but at that point I was too old. So I find myself in this weird valley where I am simultaneously too young to be nostalgic for it and too old to be nostalgic for this. And I think you have to be one or the other, or just a different flavor of autistic than I am to really appreciate this movie. And I think really what it comes down to is that it also doesn't commit to Prince Adam as a character, because he doesn't possess any character growth. And this is something that I've wanted to rant about for a while, and why I really wanted to rant about this movie in particular, but I've spent the last 10, 12, 13 minutes ranting about other things. All right. In my mind, there are two simple ways you can break down characters, right? Characters that are good on their own, and the world has to change around them, and the story is all about them proving that. But then you also have the much more easy to do story, which is the world is fine and the character just needs to be molded to that world. The character has to change. So either the world has to change or the character has to change. And in this specific instance, neither one of those things happen, where everyone that is in Eternia doesn't really see Adam differently. They see He-Man, but they don't see Adam. And it's confusing to me, because in the show, what I know of it is that Adam and He-Man are two actual separate characters, right? That was the crux of Kevin Smith's thing, right? Is that Tila was all pissed off and had to shave half her head because she now just realized that the two characters that look nearly identical to each other are in fact the same person. But they don't do enough to differentiate to us, the new audience that they are trying to grab with this movie. They don't differentiate between Prince Adam and He-Man. And it's made even worse because none of the characters seem to make that differentiation either. So you're left with essentially a movie that starts with Adam getting shit on by every character and having to prove himself all the time, and you end the movie with every character shitting on Adam and having to prove himself to everybody. but also he can be a completely different person that, everyone just loves, and he just gets essentially a Nakama power up. He just gets a power up that lets him beat up all the bad guys and he's invincible, pretty much. I get that, like, there was that whole fight scene with Skeletor that we needed to have the second act low point for, but that's just script writing. That's just, we don't know how to end the movie without it, ending at the 45-minute mark. So we're just going to tack something on here. All right. And another thing I wanted to bitch about was this casting of Nicholas Dimitri, I think his name is. But yeah, this guy, man. I guess his name's not Nicholas Dimitri or Nicholas Dimitri, Constantine, whatever, man. Whatever. All right. So, like, this guy, he is a perfect encapsulation of why I think this movie does not work. Because we're supposed to believe that, oh, Adam, he's this weak loser. He's never been to the gym before, blah, blah, blah. He's still a 6'2", decently fit guy. Like, you put him in a pink shirt, but he still looks like a 6'2", decently fit guy. And then we are supposed to believe that he gets this huge power up where he is almost invincible as He-Man, but the only thing that changes is his outfit. Like, they do nothing to make him look more powerful. And he doesn't act more powerful. He still acts the same. And I don't think that this guy is doing anything wrong on purpose, but he is just not able to pull off the character that we need in this. Because I think they're trying to go for your Captain America, your Superman type of archetype, where he is the character that's in the right and he just has to spend the movie convincing everyone else that he's right, and that does not happen. He doesn't change anyone except for maybe you could argue Skeletor, because, he kills him, which I'm not convinced that, this ancient sorcerer or whatever with a skull face is completely dead. They're probably going to try to make a sequel if this can make its money back, which I don't think it will. But if it does, you'll see Skeletor again, and it'll probably still be Jared Leto, because people keep saying that Jared Leto does a good job in this, and I would maintain, no, he doesn't. Jared Leto could be replaced by AI in this movie, and I would not notice a significant difference, because he's just a CGI skull face as well as, like, a voice augmentation. So, like, his performance doesn't come through at all. Like, why even cast a Jared Leto? You could cast Bill the janitor or Janet the secretary as Skeletor, and you're going to get basically the same result. All right. And one thing that I wanted to mention before I kind of wrap up here is that my last gripe with this movie is that they kind of do nothing with Evil Lynn, which, like, you've got what's her face in here? Alison Brie. There we go. Yeah, you've got Alison Brie in here, and she's a very attractive woman. You could do a lot with her, but they don't. They don't do basically anything. Like, she's there to get beat up by Skeletor, to have us go against Skeletor, and then nothing. Oh, also she's there to try to convince us that, Prince Adam / He-Man is in fact a very sexy dude that you can look at his muscles for. But again, they don't differentiate between Adam and He-Man, so I don't understand this. And it comes off more as like a creepy objectification of the guy, as opposed to, like, an endearing joke. And actually, you know what? One more gripe here. None of the jokes are funny. I didn't chuckle a single time. I have not sat stone-faced watching a movie like this in quite a while. And so, in summation here, because I'm just going to keep rambling about little nitpicks that I don't like, but in summation, what I want to try to get across here is that this is a very unique situation where I myself did not like the movie, but I can totally see somebody else liking it. So I can recommend it. If you're a Masters of the Universe fan or if you're curious about it, it's fine. But if you're like me and you don't really care about Masters of the Universe and it doesn't look like it has enough heavy metal inspired cover art, then yeah, just go ahead and skip it. So that's all I really got to say today. If you like this video, show me by leaving a like. I don't know why you would like this video because this is easily the least cohesive video I have ever made. But if you like it, please go ahead and subscribe. I plan on doing some better videos in the near future. But until next time, sayonara, bitches.